The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Margot placed her datapad on the crystalline table. For 3 years, she had stood before these alien delegates, advocating for humanity's inclusion in interstellar trade agreements, defense pacts, and cultural exchanges. For 3 years, she had been met with condescension, dismissal, and thinly veiled contempt. The human delegation withdraws its petition, Margot said, her voice steady. Effective immediately, humanity severs all diplomatic ties with the Galactic Council. The Valneri representative, a towering creature with iridescent scales, clicked its mandibles in what passed for laughter among its kind. How tragic. The primitives are taking their toys and going home. Margot didn't respond. She simply gathered her belongings, nodded to Max, her security attaché, and walked toward the exit. Max followed, his expression unreadable, though his jaw was set tight. They had both endured enough insults to last a lifetime. "Wait," called out Councillor Thex, the Mantheri diplomat who had occasionally shown humanity a modicum of respect. "Ambassador Margot, surely we can discuss. There's nothing left to discuss." Margot interrupted without turning around. "Humanity offered friendship. You offered scorn. We're done." The doors sealed behind them with a pneumatic hiss. 6 months later, the first tremors of consequence rippled through the galactic community. The Kryn Imperium, a militaristic species that had been slowly annexing neighboring systems, suddenly accelerated its expansion. Without warning, they seized 3 Valneri colonies in a lightning campaign that left the Council reeling. "We need a military response," demanded the Valneri representative, now stripped of its earlier arrogance. "The defense protocols are inadequate," finished Councillor Thex. "The simulations we ran always assumed human tactical support." It was true. Humanity's military observers had, during their brief tenure with the Council, provided strategic analyses that had quietly been incorporated into Council defense planning. Humans had an unsettling aptitude for warfare not because they were savage, but because they understood asymmetric thinking, psychological warfare, and adaptive tactics in ways that more civilized species had forgotten or never learned. "Contact the human delegation," ordered the Council Prime. "Offer them." "They're not answering," Thex interrupted. "Any communications to Earth or human colonies are met with automated responses. Polite, but firm. They want nothing to do with us." The Valneri representative's scales dulled with distress. "But surely they'll help against the Kryn. It's a threat to the entire sector." Thex pulled up a holographic transcript. I quote, "The Council made its position on humanity clear. We respect your sovereignty and expect you to respect ours. Earth wishes you well in your endeavors." The chamber filled with agitated murmurs in dozens of languages. Max stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above Earth, watching supply ships depart for the outer colonies. Since the withdrawal, humanity had turned inward, focusing on its own development with a fervor that surprised even him. "Feeling vindicated?" asked Margot, joining him at the viewport. "Not particularly," Max replied. "I'm just tired. 3 years of being treated like we were too stupid to understand faster-than-light physics, too barbaric to deserve a seat at the table. The Council's been sending diplomatic overtures," Margot said. 17 in the last month alone. "And your response?" "The same as before. Polite declination." She paused, watching a massive colony ship engage its drive and vanish into the starfield. "They're afraid now. The Kryn aren't stopping, and without our tactical frameworks, the Council's forces are being systematically dismantled." Max turned to her. "You think we should help?" "I think," Margot chose her words carefully, "I think humanity spent 3 years offering partnership, innovation, and friendship. We showed them medical advances that could have saved millions, agricultural techniques that would have ended famines on a dozen worlds, and they laughed at us. Double quotes, but we're not doing this for revenge, Max. We left because we deserved better. If we go back now, on their terms, because they need us, what does that say about us?" Max nodded slowly. "That we're exactly what they thought we were. Desperate for approval." A year after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council teetered on the brink of collapse. The Kryn had conquered 15 systems. Trade routes had fractured. Several member species were considering surrender or separate peace treaties. In the Council chamber, now half empty with absent delegates. Councillor Thex reviewed humanity's original proposal's documents that had been dismissed as naive or overly ambitious. Agricultural innovations, defensive strategies, diplomatic frameworks for conflict resolution. Every single one would have prevented or mitigated the current crisis, they knew. Thex whispered to the empty air. They tried to tell us, and we wouldn't listen. A message appeared on Thex's console. Another human transmission, but this one was different. It was addressed specifically to the Mantheri delegation. Thex opened it. Councillor Thex. Came Margot's recorded voice. Humanity has not forgotten those who showed us respect. We cannot involve ourselves in council affairs. That bridge was burned by mutual decision. However, we're transmitting tactical data on Kryn fleet movements to your species directly. What you do with this information is your choice. Consider it a gesture of personal respect, not political alliance. May your people find peace. Ambassador Margot Chen next stared at the data streams flooding in. Precise, detailed, actionable. Enough to turn the tide. Humanity wasn't coming back. They had found their dignity in departure, their strength in silence. They owed the council nothing, but they remembered their friends. And perhaps that was the most human thing of all, helping not because they had to, not because they wanted something in return, but simply because they could. The council had wanted humanity to prove they belonged among the stars. Humanity had proven something better. They didn't need the council's approval to be extraordinary.